Welcome to our garden. I thought I'd take you on a brief tour on like this very early spring garden and show you what we have, what plants we have, and because it's quite windy, I hope you can hear me. This is the first little area of our garden, and this is the water post fruit garden, and we may actually change the position of the water post. It's purely decorative, sadly. We have a good deal of spring flowers around, which is very nice, and I'd love to have even more in the front garden of those. So here in the front we have 2 blueberry bushes that we planted last year, and they weren't bearing. We planted them in the fall, so they were past bearing. We have a bush that I can't recall the English name of right now, but it's called reps in Danish, and then we have a late bearing raspberry and 3 summer raspberries. So this is our little fruit bush area, and we'd love to expand not this area but our number of fruit bushes around the garden this year. This is a kitchen garden as it's looking right now. You can kind of see the difference in level, and there's sort of a ridge across here, and that's some demarcation of where our kitchen garden was last year and where we've expanded it this year. And last year we just planted in ground, but this year we are going to make these raised bed frames from pallet frames, and we are very excited to get this going. We are waiting for compost day. Where we live, there's one day a year when you can go and collect free compost, and we are absolutely going to wait for that day and get a lot of compost and then mix it in with a little bit of bought dirt to establish all of these frames. So we have a total of 20 frames this year. That's a good amount of growing space. Actually, I have no clue what we're going to grow in all of them, but that's a problem for me in April. So I'm really excited to have this much growing space. I really think we can do a lot with our kitchen garden this year. If you have any ideas for what you think we should grow, please leave them by in the comments, because while I am thinking of things we use, I know some of them are more difficult to grow, and this is only our 2nd year having a kitchen garden. But I know for sure we'll have zucchini, and we'll probably have some peas as well as some lettuce and some carrots. And I would like to try some spinach and some beets as well. I now have a lot of growing space, so I can grow a bit more than that. Here at the bottom of the kitchen garden we have our beehive, and while we don't actually have any bees yet, I need to get to work to make the frames so that we can buy a bee family and get that set up in time for pollination and in time for the bees to thrive and just hopefully survive and do really well, so we can harvest some honey this fall. These frames were what I had originally picked up at a steal to make our kitchen garden, but these are only a quarter of the size of the other ones, and when I got the chance to buy the other ones I decided I would just sell these again. But my husband has told me not to be so quick on selling them. He has planned for them, so we will see what ends up happening there. I think we'll still sell most of them because there's 32 of these and I doubt he has that much to put in them, but you never know. We also have 2 small greenhouses. One is a bit more fancy than the other, and in the fancier one the previous owner had a kitchen garden with herbs, so I cleared this out a couple of days ago, and now we just have some parsley, some mint, some chives and some thyme in here, and I am not sure how much of this will stay in here. Parsley has no need to be in a greenhouse, nor does chives, nor mint, nor thyme. So really we could do anything. We could plant this all out in one of the boxes and start all over in here, or we could do something completely different, just fill this one with herbs and have a second one with herbs outside. What would you do? What would you use this little greenhouse for? It's really not that tall. Maybe we could have a couple of tomatoes in here if we cleared the space. Let me know what you think. If you're a more experienced gardener, or even if you just have a great idea, I'd love to hear it, because we hardly know anything, and none of what we say should be taken as advice. We are just experimenting and seeing what works. We're right next to the greenhouse. Oh, that needs to be cleaned. But we're right next to the greenhouse, and this is where I've put a little topper, and that's me rhubarb, or one of the plants really. This is the one I put a bucket over to create a bit more heat. We did this last year and we got a really great crop of early rhubarb, but I have more to show you because you can never have enough rhubarb. All of these have strawberries in them, but these strawberries really didn't do well last year, and we didn't have like the mental capacity to change them out. So I will be looking for fresh strawberry plants. I'm not sure if they are going to go in these or if they are going to go in a raised bed, but we need strawberry plants, many of them, because we love strawberries. So up against the fence here we have planted some more spring flowers. Some of these were already here, some of them we moved, and then we have two thornless blackberries, American thornless blackberries, and we've never tried them before. We planted them last year along with the other fruit bushes, as we've only been here one full year. So we're very excited to see how much they bear and how great they taste. These are the second and third rhubarb plants we have. We took these, some from my parents and some from a cutting from the other plant, and they are in a warmer spot, so they are already coming along nicely. In this area I hope to make a compost, and actually I hope to make this next weekend. As you can see, I got a really long pallet, and I'm planning to put like the smaller pallets from each of these, so make a 3-room compost system. And I think it's would be really great here because it's sort of out of the way, behind the house, doesn't get a lot of light, and the garden is right there, so it's very convenient just to walk over here. It's out of the way, you can't really see it, you can't really notice it that much, but it's very handy for the garden. We have this big bed right here, and there's nothing really in here we'd like to keep, except for a couple of flowers in here that we'd love to keep, including the helleborus. But other than that, this is just like a random mess of things that the previous owner planted, and we'd really like to utilize it for something, but we haven't quite decided what to put here yet. It may end up being a playhouse because it's right next to the sandbox, and we do have a lot of children in our garden every day, our own and the children I care for in the daycare. So a playhouse would be a lovely addition. We have this path here, and it goes all the way across the house and the garden, with a little step in the middle, and there's nothing in there anymore. There were some plants that we've dug out, and over here the garden is still a mess from getting our new heating system installed. So we do want to keep a lot of the spring onions in these beds, because having all these spring flowers is amazing, and this bed is actually full of tulips as well. But I'm also planning on maybe putting at least 2 dwarf trees, one at either side of the stairs, but I can't decide if I want to put like a whole row of dwarf fruit trees here as well as on the other side. Right there you have our pear tree. It's a very old tree. It doesn't look very happy, but it did manage to produce about 10 pears last year. So we'll see what happens this year, and it's a really lovely tree. It's well shapen and it's so nice to sit there and drink a cup of coffee in the summer. So far it's staying. Turning a bit. Oh, the sun is so amazing. You can almost see it. Right there is our ginormous apple tree. It produced so much last year we couldn't keep up. I started the daycare just as the apple really came into season, and we just couldn't keep up with me working 48 hours a week and doing all the apple preservations. So hopefully if it produces as much this year, we will be much better at preserving them and storing them for winter use. This is another little spot in our garden where I'd love to put some kind of either dwarf tree or fruit bush. I think it would be really nice to just have fruit bushes and dwarf trees all over the place. I don't want to plant a lot of medium-sized or full-sized fruit trees because our lot is very small and we have plenty of shadow already, so I don't want to create more down the line. But I think dwarf trees is a good way to go to get some produce and to get some harvest, even though we can't do a ton.